iDiskiTV powered by World Sports Betting. iDiskiTimes.co.za. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to a brand new week. So, in this video, I want to talk about South African coaching and South African football clubs as well. What's interesting, if you've noticed any of the events that have happened over the past 2 or 3 weeks, is that, for example, Marumo Gallants hired a coach, Dylan Kerr, and then within a couple of days, he was no longer the coach. The coach now is Dentens Malisela. If you think about Vosumo Zivilala's at Richards Bay Football Club, he helped the team survive relegation through the promotion playoffs, and then we thought that he was going to be the coach, and then he was fired, or they amicably parted ways. You remember Polokwane City against Mamelodi Sundowns? There was a phone call on the bench that was scandalous, and it was embarrassing for the coaches too. Peter Ibala from Germany. Sukukune, he was a coach and then he was not a coach because Siema, who helped them to qualify for the top 8, joined. And then he joined, but he also joined with Gaetano Tembo. You know, so many things are happening that are confusing in South African football, but they're not confusing. They're an indication of the continuation of unprofessionalism that we used to see in the 2000s. So we asked the question with Lindo. Is South African football going forward with the way that it treats its coaches? And then, of course, to be fair, we have to scrutinize the work of the coaches too, their staff and everyone else who works for them, and whether or not the coaches are improving the players. Can we expect any improvement on the players if the coaches are working under depression or stress? Lindo, thank you very much for joining me, sir, and the viewers as well.
Yeah.
Now, all of these incidents that I've tabulated, ultimately, you said in one of the videos that you did, Polokwane City against Sundowns, that as a young black coach, it makes you feel embarrassed to be a coach because a coach was receiving a phone call on the bench and stuff like that. And of course, that went viral and people were listening to your commentary about that. What in general do you think about all of these? Someone has been given a job and then they are fired before the first game is kicked. And the season has not yet started, and some coaches were hired and then now they're fired.
To be honest with you, Nkululeko, it's an embarrassment to the product that we've created in this country, a beautiful product. PSL coaches are disrespected, more especially black young South African coaches. I feel that with what they've produced, because there's two ways in winning in football, Nkululeko. It's either you win football games or you win by developing football players. Another problem that I have is football education. I think some of our coaches don't have the right football education, but also that's a problem here, SAFA, because I, as a coach myself, have struggled to do so many courses.
It's difficult.
It's very difficult to do a course. So I think one of the reasons is football education, but also it's management of the clubs. I just feel like the clubs don't have the right trust. But also the right resources to give to our coaches so that our coaches can produce the right players or even win football games.
We'll get to how coaches are able to improve players and why that is the case. And you mentioned for now, actually, that the coaching education is problematic as well. But let's get to how coaches are treated by the owners. What do you make of that? Do you genuinely believe that you could actually coach a South African football club? Even myself, I had ambitions of coaching, did a DNC licenses when I was growing up, and I was thinking, okay, I could go to coaching. But of course, you use your logic and your eyes and you read and you see, you're like, it is impossible for me to work with these guys unless I have my own club.
You know what, Nkululeko, the biggest problem, I think, I'm one that always likes to say this. Our league is a technical director league. We use a technical director model league. In this country, you are never a head coach alone. Actually, there's so much influence. It's crazy when Nkululeko, the influence that other people that are within the club have in the decision making of the coaches. The chairmen, firstly, most of the chairmen that are in football, more especially in the smaller clubs, they're in football for the wrong reasons. I think Junior Tala emphasized this thing. Some of them are there for the wrong reason. We don't want to mention because some of the people might say we are attacking them. But to be honest with you, they employ people that are responsible to protect their investments. Which are those people? Are technical directors. Do those technical directors or sporting directors, are they well equipped to do that job? Or is it because you understand the football? Do they understand the models of how they want to employ coaches? Do they understand the strategies that they want to employ in terms of the growth and the succession of the club? Do they understand the model and then the profiling of the players that they want to bring to the club? Because before you even judge a coach, as a coach, you're as good as your players, Nkululeko. You're as good as the management that you have. Do you understand? So for me, it starts there. The management, are they well equipped in those positions? Because we always want the best coaches, but do we have the best technical directors? Do we have the best managers? Do we have the best directors? Do we have the best team managers? Because we've seen these faults in Nkululeko back seasons ago, where our team managers would not know whether this player is suspended or not suspended. You know what I mean? So for me, I would say the people that are owning the clubs, they going into football not having the right strategies, the right systems, the right methodologies, and the right game models to implement within a football club. The strategies, so that it can go down to the technical director. The technical director can influence the coach, because before you even bring in the coach, you need to understand the models, the strategies, and where you want to move as a club.
Is it? Do you genuinely believe that you could work for a PSL club, or what could stop you? I'm not talking about you alone now. The idea of you now are the one who's black and young, they're men or women, colored and young men or women, a young South African person. Do you genuinely believe that there is a pathway for them to be able to be respected and be paid accordingly based on his performance, and be respected to do his job in the framework of a South African football club? Bazokuvumela uzenze into zakho, or there will always be influence? Can you be able to do a job in a South African football club? When you look at all those 16 clubs, do you genuinely believe that they could help you become a coach?
No. It's very difficult. I think there's about 4 teams. I can count 4 teams that can allow coaches to actually have an influence in the team. But to be honest with you, Pito said this: if you are black, colored, whatever, you really need to be good, and you really need to convince Nkululeko, because you are never given an opportunity. And not only in the PSL, even in the APC Mtsipe League, you're never given an opportunity. In the NFD, you're never given an opportunity. Kunalama Grootman, nalama timer in South African football that have thought banale brain ukuthi asiyalazi ibhola thina yele ntwana encane ngeke uzisitshele ngebhola and what so. And this is modern football. The game has changed. So it's very difficult as a young black person to be a head coach of any team. Even though you are a head coach, most of the time, back control, most of the time. And it's unacceptable, because you look at so many teams that have been relegated, Limpopo, Black Leopards, TDL, things that they used to do. But it's well known, with 7 good team sheet, and you have to select the other 4 for yourself. So for me, it's very discouraging to coach as a young black person in this country. And I've said this even last season. I said there's no South African coach that should go and coach Kaizer Chiefs. That's what I said.
Why would you say that?
One of the reasons was because each Chiefs, each coach I'm a sponsor, a coach I'm a management. The sponsors of this club are putting so much pressure on the management that the management feels the responsibility to coach the team. So some of these clubs, there's so many sponsors that look at Lindo Pep, Richards Bay, for example, coaching can. Obviously, the new sponsor, Parkway, he came in and expectations. Do we feel that 12 points out of 15 is fair? I don't think so. That team was fighting for a relegation.
Yeah, he helped them. Basically, if he didn't get there, they would have been relegated.
You know what I mean? We raise our expectations. You want 12 out of 15. No, Brendan Tuta has accepted that because he believes he can provide that with the players that he has. But you look at that, who is coaching the team? Because all of a sudden, they are raising our expectations. They are wanting to change the coach. They want to bring in certain players. They want to bring in a certain caliber of coach. So that means the sponsorship is making the decisions, influencing the management to actually feel the need to influence the coach and the technical team.
Yeah. Do you believe that? Because Morgan Mamila, for example, I look at him as a coach, but it's not necessarily as a coach. He's pursuing his coaching badges. I think he's on C or B now. He's
on B.
I think he has actually one of the quickest routes to a B license, because all of us, we have to wait our turn, and we have to wait until A license is being done in our province, and we go there. But he's been fast-tracked. But I look at him and I look at the fact that he was allowed at Chippa United to sit on that bench without qualifications. And he was also allowed to not interfere per se, but when Dentons Malisela is going to the playoffs, he loses the first game, and Kurishim Patlele calls Morgan Mamila, and he becomes a coach. And now Baroka are preparing for a new season in the NFD, and he will be the coach as well. And I look at the kind of mindset that allows an owner, that it happened at Chipa, it's now happening at Baroka, that they would rather have their friend, someone who's an administrator. Morgan's an administrator. We know him as an administrator, but they easily made that decision to say, come and disrupt this. They're saying, come and help us, of course. He will always present it as help, but it's a disruption on people who are actually coaches.
Nkululeko, to be honest with you, this is another thing. That's why I said football education. For this country to improve, even at development levels, we need some very, very good coaches. Like I said to you, for this country to grow, we need to invest in very good coaches. The clubs in the PSL need to invest in very good technical coaches. There's one of the reasons why Fohloza came into Sundowns. I'm telling you, there's a specific role that he's going to play in Nkululeko in terms of the technical ability and the football education that he's going to give to those players. Because we haven't produced a player in a very long time with Sundowns, for example. But going into my meal, Nkululeko, I was listening to the press conference, CEO, chairman, and he was saying things like, we've signed experienced players, we've brought in younger players. And the third thing he said is, he has no excuse. He must win the league. He must win the league, and he must gain a promotion to the PSL. And I said to my team self, football is not ayikho straight ngalonje.
Yeah.
You know, if you are going to say, if Umay Miller doesn't win the league, you are giving him one season. No coach can build a team in one season. Even that, I understand he's got the right confidence to coach now, pound for pound, I'm going to win the league. I've got the right structures. But let's be honest. Even Nonabi Kaizer Chiefs, if you're going to give him one season and say he must build one hell of a team, then we are wasting our time. It's impossible. We need to give him seasons. You need to study those players. Some of the times, how coaching takes time, you might find that you sign a player and you think he's a centre back, but it might take you 3 months to realize that this boy is actually a right back. He's actually quick. He can deal with a 1v1. And actually, you realize after a period of time that he's actually have a good cross on him. I was actually wasting him as a centre back. Let me shift him to the right. You make that one change. You bring in a proper centre back. You shift that boy, and it changes the whole dynamic of a team. You had a midfielder that you were studying. You thought, okay, he's good, consolidation phase, but you actually realized that he's got one of a hell of a final pass. He's got unbelievable creativity. You switch him after 8 months. Look at Jorge Rivero, how many mistakes he's made while on the Pirates up until he got the team right. So for me, I look at that. I look at the lifespan of the coaches in this country. It's terrible. Normally in Europe, the lifespan is about 14 months. But in this country, the lifespan is about 6 months.
Yeah, which speaks to how long a coach stays typically in a football club.
Which also says the technical directors, the management, do they have the right equipment? Are they well equipped to implement strategies and systems? Because for you to even have a coach for 6 months, it's a question mark to the people that are actually in charge of the coach, the performance analyst, the conditioning coaches. Because if you bring in a head coach, you need to bring in a conditioning coach that aligns with the head coach. A performance analyst, 2 performance analysts that align with the coach. One is responsible for the opposition. One is responsible for training and the analysis of the team. You bring in a personal trainer who's responsible, who's aligned. Because if you're saying, you're a coach that likes playing short sprints, and you are bringing in a physical trainer or a conditioning coach that doesn't emphasize in training short sprints, short passes, diagonal balls, then what are we doing? Because all of those people, so if you're going to bring in a head coach but bring in your own technical team, for me, that alone is a huge question mark in this country. And I'm happy that Coach Peter, Coach Rulani, Coach Fatlu Davis, they've taken a route of implementing and taking their own technical team and even hiring their own technical director so the club can move in the right direction. Because that detail is also important.
Yeah, let's look into moving away now from the owners.
Yeah.
We look into the coaches themselves. Do you genuinely believe that we have good coaches in South Africa insofar as the ability to improve players? The ability, if I saw a player, so how I would look at this question from this perspective would be, okay, you had Devon Titus, Steve Barker. You've had Devon Titus for 2 years. Is there any logical progression? Is he moving forward? Is Antonio van Wyk taking steps forward? Is he fixing the mistakes that he made last year? Is it better this season? Jaden Adams, is he getting better? And I would say perhaps the answer is marginally yes with Stellenbosch, Steve Barker, that I see that there's some progression there with the players that he has. But of course, there's other technical skills that we're not seeing. 20 years ago, we could see about David Modisa receiving the ball as central midfielders, attacking the space and incisive passing. Over the years, we don't see midfielders who can actually defend splitting passes. We can do defense splitting passes in the South African Premier Soccer League. We can still see it in other countries. We can still see it with Spain at the Euros, that primarily the way that they will unlock defenses is through passing from their midfielders. So what do you think about coaches in South Africa and their ability to improve players?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, to be honest with you, because I look at the statement that Arsene Wenger said, I think it's about 5 years ago. He said in the next 10 years, 5 years, coaches are going to be scientists. And Nkululeko, the game has become more positional and scientific. And I want to give credit to Kevin Hunt for what he's done, over the years in his career. We are very critical of him and stuff like that. About Steve Parker. But for me, the coaches that are improving young players in the people that are improving players in this country are younger coaches. Like South Africa's now this culture, I can give them credit for talent identification. They know how to spot talent. They know how to identify with, okay, this boy can be suitable here and stuff like that. But in terms of ground training session on the pitch, I feel that most of our coaches are not dominant there. We need to develop more of pitch coaches who are dominant on the pitch, because the game has become, like I said, more positional and scientific. For me, I look at our South African midfielders. All of them are chasing 100% pass completion. It's always about passing sideways, a forward pass one now and then. There's no shots outside the box. It's very rare you watch our league where you would realize we're taking shots outside the box.
I mean, which attacking midfielder has 10 goals?
Yeah. You look at our wingers, Nkululeko. It's only a few that would receive a ball on the white channel, cut it in and pick a spot outside the box. For me, I look at our players. I look at coaches like Abohoje Rivero, improved some of the players that I've watched. Improved a player like Mfukeng, has improved a player like Utito. I can count so many. Has improved the goalkeeper like Usipo Chaine. You look at like Coach Rulani. For me, that's why I'm saying coaches who are always on the pitch, coaches who work with the players. Not Abuko. Remember when Nkululeko, there's managers. Do you know Kevin Hunt probably doesn't even participate in training?
I'm thinking that as you are describing Guti, coaches on the field, that actually the assistant coaches are the ones who are taking cones, setting up the session for the day, and perhaps the coach is like the manager.
He's the manager.
Is overseeing, but is not in the rondo, seeing Guti who's got a good first touch and stuff like that. And you make a very good point. That it is possible that because they are not there on the ground, they don't have an impact on being able to affect a player.
That's why it's important to have technical coaches. That's why you'll find clubs having 2 assistant coaches. And then the head coach would be responsible for the tactics and preparing the entire team for the match day. And then the condition coaches would be responsible for the warm-up, for the stuff like that. And then you've got 2 assistant coaches. One of those assistant coaches must be a master and a genius in terms of pitch training, in terms of drills, in terms of like taking organization, systems and stuff, how to improve players. There needs to be a model as well. So for me, I would feel that some of the players that I've watched over the years, technically very good, because we've said this, Nkululeko, even in the PSL also, maybe we are saying, are these coaches improving these players? But the question maybe we must be asking is there talent? Because I cannot improve when there's no talent. I cannot develop when there's no talent.
Or you can improve. It can be marginal improvement.
Yeah.
But of course, your point being that if the players, most of them are talented, there will be little work to do.
There will be little work. Because for me, when I look at a player, I say, is there talent? If there's talent, it's something that I can work with. And then after talent, what we look for is, can we develop basics? Can we develop the fundamentals now? Receive left and right, open body. Can you play a 30-meter pass? Can you play a 5-meter pass? Can you cover distance? Can you overlap? All those little minor details. And then the other one is, are you disciplined enough? So in this country, we start with discipline. The player is disciplined. If you ask most of the PSL players, if you were to ask them, the excuse would be he's disciplined, he doesn't party. But is there talent first? Because if you check in Brazil, Nkululeko, before we are hard on the coaches, in Brazil, what they look for first is talent, not discipline. Is the boy talented first? Nah, kala. So for me, we are developing and we are coaching players, in my opinion, as coaches that are not talented. That's why the coaches have to overwork.
But I think the coaches too are not talented. You can see because it's not mutually exclusive. Both of them can also not be talented.
But when we started, we said coaching education. Maybe that's another, because let's be honest, Nkululeko, you go drive a aeroplane, ungana the right qualifications.
Without a pilot's license.
Some of our coaches are coaching with NFT, D license, C license. It's not their fault.
Even some of them in the DSTV Premiership as well, in the Betway Premiership, we've seen them coaching without. I mean, the reason that's why I said Morgan's rise to B license is probably the fastest I've ever seen someone getting to B license. Because I know that it's very difficult. It takes you a year, and then you have to do another one. Because he would have started. That means it started at D, or he started without a D. Like Nkululeko Nkewu. I was speaking to another coach as well, which I won't mention. We used to coach at DSTV Premiership side, and he said to me last week, 2 weeks back now, that he was completing his C license. I was like, in my mind, I was like, Oh, that means when you were coaching 4 years back, you were coaching without any license then.
Because, before we continue, I want to speak about the licenses and why it's important in football education. Before we
Or
continue.
even they need to be scrutinized. If you remember D license,
Yeah.
the content that is in the D license,
It's just about fundamentals.
yeah,
it's
about juniors.
Juniors. Then the C license probably is about the technical stuff. Now you get introduced into the technical stuff. What is the performance and what is the conditioning coaching?
Yeah.
And then when you get into the B license, that's where the influence. That's why I'm saying it's unacceptable for our coaches in the PSL not to have an A and a B license, because that's when you understand the importance of a performance coach, a physical coach in your team. How do you align that? How do you link that? Because then people think philosophy is building out from the back and transitions. No, philosophy is the character of the coach, respect, how you carry yourself as a person.
It encompasses more things than just playing.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I just wanted to explain that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I need to ask you one more thing then. I love this topic actually. I hope you guys are enjoying it as well.
Yeah.
The circulation of the same faces with coaching, which is part of the topic we're discussing as well. It is possible that the next coach will be fired. Let's say that Magese fires Clinton Lassen for whatever reason. They usually do this. Teams that are coming up, and then after 5 matches they fire him. But it can be anyone, anyways. Then the coach who will be hired to replace him will be a face that we've seen before, which then means, because SAFA was trying to, because professional football is run by the PSL. The Premier Soccer League is 32 teams.
Yeah.
16 DSTV Premiership, 16 National First Division, right? But football is supposed to be run by SAFA.
Yeah.
And they have these stipulations about who must coach where and which are the qualifications for where. Now, I make this point to say that SAFA can give you a database of new faces, women, young men, black, Xhosa, Zulu, Sotho, Tswana, Pedi, colored, Indian, all of them, right?
Yeah.
Venda. They have a database of maybe 300 people, maybe 3,000 people who are young, who are coaches, who are qualified.
And very qualified as well.
Qualified,
Not
right?
unknown.
Absolutely. Now, you could find that I can bet my money that the next coach who will be hired will be a face that we've seen, a circulation of the same face. Whatever happens to Middendorp with the Cape Town Spurs, he will get a job within 12 months. He will get another job, and he won't have to earn his way from NFD back up through a promotion. Someone will give him a job. What's happening there? Like, what's your feeling about the fact that we keep on seeing the same faces?
I think what happens in our football is a reflection of what happens in our society. I think we need to start believing in younger coaches, in younger people, more especially in our sports, even in politics in general. But I want to speak about politics. But we need to bring younger people back into our game. We need to give younger coaches an opportunity. It's happening in England, proven. Everyone was doubting this young 31-year-old. I forgot his name. Maybe you tell me.
Oh yes,
the one that coaches Brighton.
Is at Brighton now? Yes, is German. He was in Germany.
Yeah, Jürgen
Nagelsmann.
His name. Forgot his name as well. Jürgen Nagelsmann, if I'm pronouncing him, young coach as well. Jürgen Nagelsmann, younger coach. You look at the German league. You look at most of the league. I think even in Spain as well. I think there's younger coaches. I'm looking at the assistant coach, Onagan Social. I think he's coaching Ipswich as well.
Yeah.
In this country.
McKenna.
McKenna. We need to give younger coaches an opportunity. Like we said, Nkululeko, the best coaches in the next 10 years are going to be scientists, because the game has become positional and scientific. We need more younger coaches in the league. We need to believe. And what's happening in football is the same reflection with our society. Younger people are not given the right belief, they're not given the right support, they're not given the right level of respect as well, and the right confidence, because I don't know, football is business, I understand that, but are we not trusting our people that much that they might not protect our own investment, that we believe in these merry-go-round coaches? Some of these coaches that are in the merry-go-round as well, Nkululeko, let's be honest, most of them, like Utentens, has never gotten an opportunity to coach a super sport, even a super sport, a well-structured team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Elsono Nosiema, he's highly rated.
He won 2019. He won the Nedbank Cup. Coach Dentons.
Yeah. Elsono Nosiema is highly rated. Plays some unbelievable football. Does he have the right support? Does he have the right people working around him? Is he hired by the right clubs with the right structures, with the right philosophies as well? Because the philosophy of the club also is not implemented by the coach. You know what I mean? So for me, it's not good for our game. I think it's not also helping the consumer as well. Watching these, you know what to expect. You know what to expect with Brendan Truter. Does he even deserve another job at Richards Bay? Has he done well in his previous jobs?
And not only him.
And not only him, we can count so many coaches. But for me, in my opinion, Nkululeko, I know we spoke about the football education. There's so many young coaches that are unknown. that really deserves an opportunity. Yes, the disadvantage might be young, never played professional, black or Indian or colored, but give them an opportunity. Which Orulani has proved that giving these guys an opportunity, but also you must be good. Ne? Also, we need to convince as younger coaches. We need to convince.
The worst thing is that with a younger coach, what will happen is that there will be another 30-year-old coach.
Yeah.
But what will happen is that his or her success will be the detriment of all other coaches. So they will do this because these guys watch these videos as well. There's a reason why they end up hiring about 10-10s. All the coaches that we mentioned, about Coach Letlawana Lesiyama, because the owners do watch the videos. Now, what will happen is that they will give a young coach, let's say, for example, they hire you, you coach a PSL club, they will give you 5-10, because they still, institutionally, they're not good. They don't have a good institution. 5-10 matches, you get fired, and then they will say, these young kids, born again.
But Nkululeko, remember the discussion we had yesterday. Even in our junior national teams, for example, you've got Raymond Mdaka, you've got Veli Khumalo as coaches. For me, coaches that should be coaching in the national team are coaches that can have the ability to coach for he has the ability to coach the Pirates, Chiefs, and Sundowns, and a super sport. For the fact
even if it's under 20.
Even if it's under 20. For me, with the fact that we've got national team coaches that don't even make the PSL bench is a shock to me. Because what are we really developing for?
I agree with you.
You know what I mean? Credit. Karabo is a good coach. I think he's an under 17 coach. Karabo. I saw they've got Uye there. I saw they've got to Raymond, and then they've got to Veil. For me, I look at those coaches, I'm saying, very good young coaches that should be given an opportunity in the NFD. Upcoming coaches, very good young coaches, let them go compete there, let them go and prove themselves there, so that they can have an opportunity to come into the PSL. That's how I see the development of coaches. We've got some of our good coaches that are not even part of the national setup, Guma Juniors. For me, I'm expecting a person that's coaching under 20 to be an assistant, a person that can be an assistant coach with Kaizer Chiefs.
They must be, because they will be coaching Kaizer Chiefs players and Sundowns players, because most of the national team will be the best teams in South Africa. Stellenbosch FC players, young players. So
you look at France, you look at England, the people that are coaching those teams in those countries are some of the top coaches.
Gareth Southgate easily transitioned from under 21 to the national team coach.
So if you are making the question is, if you are making Veli an under 20 coach, is he going to coach Kaizer Chiefs in the future? Will he be an assistant coach?
And that's not an attack on him personally. It's an attack on the idea.
On the idea to say, if you're going to have that, if those coaches can't arrive there in the future, then why are they go under 20 in the first? Why are you making Raymond the head coach if he's not in the future going to coach an Orlando Pirates?
Thabo Senong and it was Thabo Senong and Owen Dagama and Molefe Ntseki, they were under 20, under 23, and under 17 coaches at the same time, and you look at what happened to them in terms of being absorbed back into the PSL as well.
So football education is a problem for me. I feel that with how we develop players, I think we need to start developing coaches as well.
Sure.
We need to start developing, because I myself as a coach, I sometimes think to myself, I've taken some bad decisions in terms of which clubs should I go to, because there's no really a good path. I think also as coaches, we are not really united as coaches, because I think to myself, some of our top coaches, they go to wrong jobs. Like, for example, Abo Raymond, Abo Karabo, they are good coaches. Why doesn't he take the very same route that Tato Patela? To go and prove himself, All Stars going to go and prove. NFD is a very good league, a very competitive league. I watch the coaches that are there. They are there because of Ispan, Bafun Ispan. And the coaching is a passion work. It's not a job. We need more younger people that have the right passion, to coach, to develop players, and to implement strategies. It's always going to be traditional football.
It's a shooty podcast, man. She's panicking. As well. Thank you so much. That was a lovely conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. If it lasted for 30 minutes, how long was it? 28 minutes, like I'm right on time actually. So that's almost 30 minutes. I'm not even looking at the clock, but if it lasted for 30 minutes, we hope you enjoyed the whole 30 minutes, if that's even possible. Have you say as well what you think about it. Of course, some people watch 2 minutes and then they think they got the gist of what we're talking about. You just said the wrong thing about my favorite person, and that's it. That's the ignorance. But anyways, we hope you enjoyed it. We hope we elevated your understanding of the topic as well. It is iDiskiTV, Times. We're also betting. Thank you for watching us.